All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How is everybody doing this very good afternoon? We are breaking transmission to bring you information on what is really happening on ground. So, this is out of our usual weekend show. It is because of how important this conversation is. The reason why we are breaking our order of the day. But okay, so before I go on to the conversation, I want to hail everybody in Port Harcourt today that stepped out for the end SARS and SARS must end protest. Citizens' rights is our constitutional right, and nobody should deprive us of that right. And I really must appreciate everybody that came out today. Whether we like it or not, the Oga at the top had no other option than to step forward to see the protesters. I mean, that is the power we have as citizens. We vote these people in office, and they must listen to us, and we must exercise our constitutional rights. Nobody can stop us from it. So first, before we go on to the show today, I want to commend everybody that came out today for that protest in Port Harcourt. I mean, River State has been terrorized the most by SARS over the years, and it was really fun to watch how Rivers youths and Rivers people came out in their numbers today to ensure that their voices are heard. And yes, our voices are heard. And the main essence of the protest today is to say that end police brutality and reform the police. Those are the demands, and that was clear. It's okay that SARS has been dissolved, but that message was important to go out there. So I really want to thank everybody who spent their time today to come out for that protest. History will not forget everybody. But unfortunately, I saw messages of some people who tried to criticize the protests and all manner of things. I mean, sometimes in River State, we need to reduce the politics we bring into a lot of things. It's not everything that Oga said that is correct. So sometimes this politics we bring into the many issues is unnecessary. Some of the comments I read from many of these young people, Rivers youth, it was uncalled for. So, anyways, so that being said, let's move to the conversation for today. 1 month ago, five fathers, five elderly ones, were kidnapped in a village called Banigo in Bonny. Five fathers of our community. It's been 1 month. 12th of October made it 1 month. These people were kidnapped and abducted from a village called Banigo in Bonny Island in River State. 1 month later, we have heard no word on what is really happening. After the battle between the traditional institution and the local government, which if our chiefs have not spoken up, they've not heard anything from the local government, nobody would have known. For me, that is unnecessary. That is uncalled for. That is unacceptable. 1 month. If any of the political leaders in Bonny were kidnapped for 1 month, everywhere would have been shaking. Everywhere would have been shaking. It's unfair. 1 month. What is happening? I mean, around the world, in cases like this, they give security updates to people. They communicate what is happening without sharing security information. What is this just about? We cannot share security this in online. What's all those talk? There are excuses. Who is advising the local government chairman? Who? Anyways, I have someone today that will help us to talk about some of these issues. Mr. Chapp-Jumbo from Christina Report is with me today. I will be looking at some of the issues on what is happening behind or what's happening on this issue. I mean, welcome to the show, Mr. Goswell.
Yes, thank you very much. Good to be
Yes.
here.
Yes, Mr. Gospel Jumbo is from Christina Report, and I've brought him on the show today because he has been working on a lot as regards what is happening, what has happened in Banigo for the past 1 month, and it would be nice to have him also share some of the things he knows and information he has on what is happening on this abducted five from Banigo for over 1 month. Mr. Goswell, it's been 1 month since this kidnap happened. I mean, it's quite appalling that we don't even have concrete information in the public space on what is happening. And we keep hearing this gist that we cannot share security information in the public. I don't know. How else do we know what they are doing and how they are working behind the scene? What have you found out so far?
Okay, we have to put these things in the right perspective.
Yes.
When they say security information cannot be shared in the public, it is with the understanding that the public is not populated by only good people. It is
Mm.
populated by both the good and the bad
On the
and the
bad.
ugly.
Yes.
So the families of the kidnapped victims are in the public, the government officials are in the public, journalists are in the public, the criminals are also in the public.
In the public.
The hoodlums who went to Banigo Village to
Mm.
kidnap these our elderly ones, they are also in the public. They
Yes.
listen to the news or radio, they watch television, and it will interest you that they follow Christina reports very closely. They watch our
Mm.
publications
Mm.
as we are investigating these issues, talking with all the stakeholders. We're also finding
Yes.
that they are closely watching what we publish.
Mm.
Uh, some time ago, we were, privy to some information about, where they were likely to be, and
Okay.
this information was shared with a section of the security agencies, and surprisingly, they got there and the boys had left. So it
Mm.
means they are following closely what is happening. So I agree with the officials of the Bonny local government that
Mm.
security information should not be in the public domain.
Okay.
It can be like Christina report, we publish the news, but sensitive
Yes.
information we share with the relevant stakeholders. We cannot
Okay.
put everything we know in the public domain because it will be like arming the criminals with the wherewithal they need to stay ahead of the game. And that won't be fair to those who fall victim of their crimes. So that is for that one. And
Okay.
then talking about the time lag between when this incident happened and now.
Mm-hmm.
Ordinarily, I would say yes, it is much of a long time, so much of a long time, a very traumatic period for anybody involved. For
Mm.
even we at Christina Report that are reporting this, it's traumatic that for a month and 2 days now, these elderly men, and which we have identified to have some health issues. Two of them are diabetic. One
Mm.
has a long time, illness he's been trying to manage, and then one is also having an issue with his, you know, respiratory system and all of that.
I
And
see.
for these people with all these challenges to be in those conditions that ordinarily these criminals will subject them to. And then the other day, the daughter of one of them was saying that they called and they were torturing her father, and that they were even telling the man what to tell the family to bring. Now, putting people of that age in that condition through this kind of situation and for this
Mm.
length of time is actually excruciating.
Okay,
From
but
our own end, I would say,
I want to hold on. I want to talk about the communication. I'm also of the opinion that we really cannot divulge sensitive information in the public space. That is good. But I mean, it's been 1 month and we don't even see any level of communication either with the public to show that the government is doing something. You mustn't share sensitive information in the public for us to know that you are doing something. There's a way this communication works. You carry the public along to ensure that public opinion is guarded properly as the government is trying to rescue these 5 people. But nothing has been said in the space at all. It's been 1 month. Is there no way the government
Uh,
can communicate with the public without sharing sensitive information?
Actually, I agree with you that for 1 month, the government that has been saddled constitutionally with the responsibility of protecting the lives and properties of citizens, has not made a statement for a whole 1 month. And even the statement that was issued a few days ago had to be
Mm.
forced out of them by the Chiefs Council.
By the Chiefs
I
Council,
agree
yes.
that that's not supposed to be the challenge. But we don't actually know what's happening in house within the government. Remember, just before this incident, the local government chairman had shut down his cabinet and all his appointees.
Yes,
So
that's correct.
effectively, the government was not having a spokesperson.
Yeah,
So, but
only the Secretary of
ordinarily,
Council and
that's
the Chief of Staff was left.
yes. So now, ordinarily, even in the face of the absence of a spokesperson for the government, the chairman can still make a statement as to
Mm.
keep the public abreast of efforts that are being made to see to the rescue of these people without also sharing, sensitive
Sensitive.
information. Now,
Yes.
people do not have to rely on a private media organization like Christina Report to get updates of what is happening. Constitutionally, the government is responsible for the protection of lives and properties. So if 5 citizens of a particular local government, and we hear it's even 7, for us
It's
at Christina
7.
Report, yes, we have not been able to identify the other 2. So that's why you see we are going with
You see,
4 and now 5.
these are the
So
reasons why the government needs to speak out. Initially we had 4, we settled with about 5 persons, but now there are 7.
yes, seven persons were actually abducted. That is the latest information that we have. Now we are trying to identify the other 2 and trying to contact their families. Now, this kind of information should not, be left at the behest of a private media organization like us. It should,
Mm.
the government should put the public in the know of what's going on. We should be able to separate sensitive security implicated information from public perception management, because the government keeping quiet, everybody keeping quiet actually creates an atmosphere of despair, an atmosphere
Mm.
of pain, an atmosphere of being neglected or being abandoned. So I think that without nailing down the government at the local government, we should
Mm.
also be able to, like, you know, call the attention of the local government chairman that these are the people you are elected to serve. These are the people you are elected to govern. These are the people you are elected, to secure. And you need to talk to them. You
Exactly.
may not, and we also have to make the distinction. The government may not, you know, be seen to be part of the negotiating process so that it doesn't complicate whatever is going on between the kidnappers and the families. But
Mm.
security is the constitutional turf of the government. So we think the government should be up and doing about this. And even at the state level, the River State governor, who has, not just been speaking, but has been putting his feet on the ground to, to drive security measures across the states to
mm,
rescue the state from the hands of criminals, should also be able to talk to the people of Bonny. Bonny local government is one of the 23 local governments that make up Rivers State. Bonny local
exactly.
government contributes maximally to the economy of not just Rivers State but Nigeria. From
Mm,
the statistics we have, about ₦1 trillion is generated by Bonny local government for both the federal and state governments. So it is not a local government that you can just keep quiet over. You know, the issue of the government keeping quiet for 1 month, the governor is not saying anything about it, the local
mm.
government chairman is not saying anything about it because of concern. We think they
Okay,
should be up on their game. They
we,
should
we,
speak up. They should
we,
say what
we,
it is they are doing
yeah, Mr. Kwame,
about this situation, about
we'll come,
resolving this situation.
we'll come back soon to the issue of River State government, but I'm interested again to know. I don't know from Christina reports. Do you have a story on what really transpired in Banigo 1 month ago? What is the story behind the kidnap in the first place?
Okay, what we know is that some hoodlums were called into that environment, alerted that there were dignitaries, whether the local government chairman, the House of Assembly member, and the chairman of the Bonny Employment Integrated Recruitment Center, and others we are specifically mentioned. We are yet to ascertain that. But we understand that they were tipped off that there were a lot of dignitaries at Finapriama on that
That's
particular
Banigo.
day for that funeral. And they drove in, and then without picking out their targets, they opened fire on the crowd and injured a lot of people alongside the leader of the Bonny Legislative Assembly, the Right Honorable
Mm,
Miriam Alawari Hart, who had to be rushed to a clinic somewhere in Bonny, and by God's grace has been treated and is recovering, very well. Now, the local government chairman and the House of Assembly member and others were able to, sneak themselves away out of that environment and were later picked up by the JTF and Navy gunboats who brought them and other victims back to Bonny. Now, a lot of questions are being asked as to what could have actually happened.
yes.
Uh, Already there are insinuations flying around that the bereaved family, are split off, factionalized over whatever reason. We've not been
Mm,
able to verify that. And
okay.
the insinuation is that maybe it's a fallout of that, but we've not been able to verify that. The
Okay.
family is not also forthcoming on the issue. They prefer to be quiet over all the issues. They are grieving. They are very distraught. I had an encounter with them just a few days after the incident, and
Mm,
the whole family is sorrowful. And it's understandable if they are not forthcoming about any information. In the situation
mm.
they are, it's a double tragedy for them that they lost a father like Amobu
And on,
Senibo, Kenneth Banigo.
and on that day, all of this is happening.
Yes, and then on the day they were to pay him his last respects, this kind of
Mm,
incident, had to happen. So it's understandable if they can be excused from the conversation, you know, until they are able to get themselves back. And then now, the families that are affected by this are
mm.
also looking at that, okay, if we didn't come to your funeral, this would not have happened.
Not have
So when you look
happened.
at all of that, you would understand why they need to be excused from the conversation. But
So Mr. We
in a
don't know.
nutshell, that's what.
We don't. We don't know why these 5 or 7 victims were picked by these kidnappers yet. We don't know. We don't know any reason
Okay,
why.
actually, the why about it is that the VIPs that the criminals came for,
Okay.
we were not gotten. And these people were in a boat, a particular boat, which was loading at that material time. But
Yes.
because the boat was not complete, as in the number of passengers, they take 10 passengers for that particular
Mm,
size of boat. So while they were waiting for this boat to be filled, these boys came and started shooting. And when they were not able to pick their targets, they,
mm.
instead of them to go empty-handed, they had to pick these people, transfer them to their own boats, and then they had to zoom
Wow.
off upon sensing the approach of the gunboats by the JTF and the Nigerian Navy. So they had to run away. So that's actually, for me, from our findings, that actually is the why. Now, why they have not released them, maybe is for economic reasons. Because when you look at the people identified to be their victims, none of them
Mm,
is a big time businessman. None of them is a politician of note. None of them
mm,
is of any serious economic value. So maybe
mm,
they are holding on to them, drain the victim family psychologically, and then
mm.
stretch the narrative so much so that other stakeholders may want to step in and pay the ransom to get them out. So, but
Okay. So
I think that
so
is
in my findings so far, just before the show, I am aware that just immediately after the attack, the House of Assembly member, the local government chairman, they have briefed the governor of what has happened. They have briefed His Majesty on what had happened at that time. But
yes, that's correct.
there's still silence up to now. And we saw the letter from the Chiefs Council that they have tried all possible means to reach the local government and nothing is forthcoming. And then the River State government itself has been silent for over 1 month. It seems like Bonny is
Okay,
just detached from the whole River State when issues like this happen.
okay. If I should respond to that, let me begin with the letter of the Chiefs Council. I think that was a needless letter. They are our fathers, revered, respected, honored fathers for that matter. I think they should, in their wisdom, in their celebrated legendary wisdom, Bonny
Mm,
Kingdom is one kingdom that is celebrated for the maximum wisdom the people of the kingdom exhibit when issues are at stake. And I think that the Bonny Chief Council should exercise a lot of restraint. That letter was a needless letter. If they made an effort to reach the local government chairman, who is their son, and he is not forthcoming, it is not something that should be put out in the public domain. The local government chairman, just like you have found out, we were also able to verify that the local government chairman, the representative of the Bonny people in the Rivers State House of Assembly, Honorable Abinye Pepo, and others have briefed His Majesty, the King, the amiable and natural ruler of Bonny, about what happened. And they have also been giving him updates about efforts that were being made in this direction. That update is ongoing, but you do not expect them to come to the public to announce that, oh, we've gone to brief the amenable, we have gone to brief the governor. And that is not
does
necessary.
this mean that
So the
there's a
chairman
break in
himself,
communication between the Amanaba and his chiefs?
obviously that's clear, because the king himself, he is the Amanyanabo in council, and the council in question is the Bonny Chiefs Council. So we are advising, we are suggesting, we are saying, as their sons, as their children, that they should exercise a lot of restraint before bringing sensitive issues like this to the public. Coming to the public to say they've not been able to talk with the chairman. What is the public supposed to do about that? Is the public going to bring the chairman to them? He is their son. He is from the Rima family. The Rima family is a component of one of the houses represented in the Chiefs Council. The secretary to council, I understand, was in a meeting with ExxonMobil 3 days before that letter was, published in the social media. The
Mm-hmm.
Secretary to Council, Honorable Omoni Long John. And then, if they cannot reach the chairman, they cannot reach his vice, they cannot reach the Secretary to Council, they cannot reach the Chief of Staff. I think they should have reverted to His Majesty about this issue, before ever putting out that letter in public. That letter was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. It's not going to
But
achieve anything.
but the
For
but
us,
the
we
response
have
of the look
said it.
the,
We are
the
saying it.
response, Mr. Kwasi,
We are saying that the
the response
local
of the local
government
government.
chairman not saying that was also needless. If you ask me, I have had a conversation with the officials, involved. For me, that response was also needless. You do not answer your father in the public. That is clear. Our tradition, our culture is very clear about that. You don't answer your fathers in the public. I understand that the government has to make a in a way. Sometimes we apply some discretion about these things. We cannot quarrel
Okay.
in public, and especially when there are families being traumatized. Imagine 7 families reading those letters, the
Mm,
back and forth on social media.
mm,
What emotional template was it supposed to create for them? What is the comfort? The letter from the chief council and the response from the local government. What comfort was that those letters supposed to bring to the distraught, the bereaved, the discontented families, the sorrowful families that were going through this kind of trauma we are talking about? So for me, both letters were unnecessary, and I want to suggest, I want to advise that going forward we should be restrained about these things. I am I am in the media. This is my turf. I would rather, I would be happy, publishing those letters. But I am saying, if we have to deal with what we are dealing with, with respect to decorum, with respect to
okay.
sensitivity to issues of this
Mm,
nature, a lot of
yes.
restraint has to be applied.
Okay. So now all what is happening in a way, it looks like it is slowing down the entire rescue mission of these victims, because I've spoken to members, some members of the family members of the victims, and they are so sad what is happening. In fact, it looks like they are left out of the entire picture on what is even ongoing. No enough sympathy from the local government, especially to them, to sympathize with them on what is really happening. Everybody, they are left in the dark also. And I'm hearing that there is a ransom on the table for 10 million naira each for each of the victims. Do you have any information on this?
Well, for the fact that a member of one of the families has come public to say that ransom was being demanded, at this point, with that, and then that was run on a radio station. Obviously, the cat has been let out of the bag. Actually,
Mm,
I can tell you that for the past 3 weeks, the negotiation has been ongoing about this issue. They some rumor mongers were saying they started with 100 million, which we were not able to verify. But we know that somewhere around 40 million was demanded initially, and then it
mm-hmm.
came down to 30, and then now 10. At the last count, I understand they are still talking about 6 million. So somehow the negotiation is actually ongoing about
Mm.
paying ransom. Yes, that conversation is ongoing.
All right. Viewers, if you're watching, you'll be able to call in and also air your views. Shortly, we'll be speaking to one of the family members that I've spoken to earlier. I'll be giving him a call to share his statement on what is really happening. If you can see the screen, if you want to also share your view on the show right now, let's know if you have any vital information. The number is on your screen, and the number to call and give your comment or ask your questions is 081 120 90862. Call me, let's have a conversation, and let us know what is really happening. Okay, so Mr. Godwin, the next question I want to ask, let's talk about the silence of the River State government. For me, that is the angle where it's driving me super crazy. I don't understand why the River State government will be silent in his issue like this. Not even a statement from the government house to recognize that five people were kidnapped in Bonny for this long. Just hold on before you
Okay,
answer. We
well,
have a call.
okay.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Hello. Okay. The person caught. All right, go on, please.
Okay, well, we can't say for sure what is the reason for the silence of the River State government on this issue. We don't know whether it's political, it's economic, it's social, or whatever it is. We don't know. But 1 month without saying anything at all, 1 month without saying anything, not acknowledging what has happened, not
Hmm.
saying if any effort is being made in this direction. From the back end, we are aware of efforts ongoing to not just rescue these people that were kidnapped, but also to apprehend the criminals.
Okay, hold on. We have a call.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. Your life, your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Jumbo Kingston. I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
Okay, Jumbo Kingston, go on, please.
My name is Jumbo Kingston. Yeah.
Go on,
My
we can
name
hear
is
you.
Jumbo Kingston.
Go,
I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
yes, we can hear you, please. Go on.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. I was coming from Port Harcourt. I was coming from Port Harcourt to Bonny that very day. I was coming from Bonny. I was coming from Port Harcourt. Yeah. I was coming from Port Harcourt to Bonny that fateful day when that incident happened. I saw the attitude of this security agent towards rescuing the. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, please. Go on.
Yeah, towards rescuing the 90 in the town, so say that the local government chairman, the House of Assembly members, and so on. It's quite that this whole thing is happening in Bonny and it's quiet on this kind of issues. It's 1 month. The reasons why it is 1 month because they look at the categories of persons involved has no value. Because if it has to be with maybe the local government chairman, the House of Assembly members, they should have acted on it immediately. And we have territories, we have boundaries where these people coming from. Outside that very day, if you're too familiar with the terrains of Banigo and Holiday, you know that there is a lot of criminal activity happening around all those our villages, and the government in question is not doing anything. Something happened sometime last week or so in Port Harcourt when a lawyer was kidnapped, and they acted on it and they brought her out immediately.
Hello, are you there? Hello. Okay. Um, we lost that caller. If you call, please let's make our call around 1 minute so that we can take more people and then we can have more conversation. Mr. Gospel, please go on. Go on, please. on the issue of Rivers State government and the
Okay,
silence.
yes. So, like I was saying, we don't know what the reasons are for the government not to, not to be responsive about this. It is disheartening. It is very unfortunate. It is. I don't know what else to say about it, but I think the governor needs to be on this matter. This is not one person. This is not two people. We are talking of about 7 persons taken in one
Wow.
afternoon, and 1 month later, we can't find them. No word from them. And then the families that are barely able to feed are being asked to bring 10 million. Where are they going to bring it?
So,
Where are
but
they
Mr.
going to
Gospel,
bring it?
it is not the first
But
time.
and
It is
then
not the.
I need
It is
to I need to let me take into account
okay. Go on.
what the last caller just said, that
Yes.
maybe because Bonny is viewed as being of no economic or political value, maybe that's why this is
Mm,
happening, because we have situations where just one person, even attempted kidnaps. We know the case of the NDDC saga, when the governor had to step in that morning, as early as that morning. The governor
yes.
stepped into that compound to stop, and that is even with a legal entity, the Nigeria police. The governor had to step in
Mm,
and say, this thing looks like a kidnap. You can't take this woman. This is my citizen. And he
exactly.
drove her in his own car to the government house. So when
Mm,
you juxtapose it with this, are these people lesser citizens than Joy Nunye? Are these people lesser citizens than the justice of the Federal High Court, that the governor had to wake up in the middle of the night to go and stop her apprehension by the
mm,
DSS? Are they lesser citizens than several other people that the governor has had to put his feet on the ground for them to be rescued? So the questions, the posers are too obvious,
mm.
too disturbing to look at. So we think this is not the way to go. The governor should be responsible about this.
And it is not the first time the governor is doing just neglecting Bonny in a certain way. Since the administration of the governor, we have not had a good response from his administration when anything happens in Bonny. And I feel like it goes back to say again, of what relevance does this administration place on whatever happens in Bonny? I mean, nowhere in River State will anybody be kidnapped for 1 month, and then the government will not, the state government will not be on it like its own case. And for 1 month, the River State government just silent, not a single statement to say that we understand what is happening with the family of the victims. We stand together with Bonny, and we ensure that these people that were kidnapped from Banigo, they are rescued in due time. I mean, we are just hearing now that there may be more than 5 and up to 7 persons. These are the information we should be getting from either the state government or the local government, and not be hearing it on the side. So it's quite unfortunate. But if you give me a few minutes, I want to call a
Well, let
member.
me let me let me interject you there. Let me interject you before
Yes,
you go on. We need
yes,
to make the distinction very clearly, that this is not being approached from the political point of view, but from the
mm,
governance point of view. So we cannot
yes,
also say, from that perspective, we cannot say that the governor is neglecting Bonny people, because he has some of his henchmen from Bonny. His very
mm,
close friend is the commissioner for local governments. His very
yes,
close friend that we've known as far back as 1999 is
mm,
the commissioner for local governments. And then his loyalist, the former CTC chairman who is with the Rivers State Board of
education.
Basic Education Board,
Yeah.
Honorable Siri Hart, is one of his staunch men. The local government chairman is one of his boys. So, and all these people are close to him. So, if there is a conversation going about Bonny issues between them, we may not know. But from the governance point of view, that is where we the onlookers who are not the politicians, who are not involved in the politics of all of it, are viewing it from. And we are saying, if we have to look at it in that respect, we don't think it should be like this. Lives are
Exactly.
involved, families are
Mm.
involved, the emotional well-being of citizens of this state are involved. And that is from the perspective we are saying that action needs to be taken, that the communication has to happen between the government and the people. So the
Le- le-
issue of neglecting Bonny or not, that should be sorted out by the politicians. We are dealing with the issue of governance because security
of government.
is more
Okay.
about governance than about politics.
So let me quickly call a family member of one of the victims. So we'll just get here first-hand information on what is really happening. So I'm trying to give him a call now. Had spoken to him earlier, but let's call him again and also hear from him on what is really happening. I just feel so sad. I can imagine if it was any of my family member that was in this kind of situation, how traumatic it's going to be. 1 month. Hello, can you
Hello?
hear me?
Hello?
Yes, hello. You can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening. So you are live on the show now. I just want to ask some few questions, so that we can know what is really happening and the situation on ground. Uh, so tell me, what have you heard from the government? Have anybody from the government called your family members to assure them that things are going on well?
Basically, from the only thing we've heard from them as of now is they are working on it. They are working on it, not directly, but my other brother makes the move with the chairman, but they've never given us an assurance apart from they're working on it. So we're still waiting, hoping that from their angle, something positive comes up.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. But we are hearing in the media space that the kidnappers are demanding for 10 million naira. Is this true?
Yes, we got a hint of it, but we're not too convinced of the actual amount now because they called Encarina's mom and stepmom, so I think they are the ones on ground to
Okay.
confirm that.
Hmm. Interesting. All right. Thank you very much. But if you would demand anything from the government now, if they are listening to you, if they are watching, what would you say?
Okay, basically, I wouldn't go for the government. I would like to plead with the entire public, Nigerian as a whole. I would like to plead to their conscience. If there's anyone who knows or has a way to definitely bring out my father and the rest that were kidnapped, please, I really urge them to do so because we really can't rely on any government or security agencies. Because basically, to me, I would say partially they failed. For them to even stay up till a month, definitely, it seems we don't have people. So I'd really urge and beg the entire public to assist
Hmm.
in any way, just to give God all the glory.
All right. Just to confirm, who among the victims is your father?
Okay, my dad is Thompson Michael Allison.
Thompson Michael Allison.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us. We really want to condole with you and your family members. I know it's a very traumatic time, but you people should take it easy. God is in control. We hope that very soon this traumatic situation will come to an end.
Thank you very much. But I would like to say something
Yes,
before
please go on.
before end.
Please go on.
I would also like to use this medium to address the chairman of council, that's the chief security officer of the local government.
Yes, please go on.
It's really unappalling that security issues comes up frequently and there's no one on ground to even tackle such. Definitely today it's last month it was my dad and his friend. For tomorrow we don't know who. It might be
Mm,
him himself. Then who
mm,
makes the move when his citizens are not even safe? If he's not safe, who makes the move to ensure his own safety? I'd
mm,
like to urge him to put security measures on ground
mm,
to secure the lives and property of our fellow Bonny people.
mm. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. I'm sure he will be listening to us, and we hope he takes the message.
Thank you very much.
All right. Mr. Godswin, did you hear that?
Yes.
Hmm. So what do we make out of this now?
Okay. The young man has, like, you know said it the way it is. The family is suffering, and then the level of communication is abysmally low between the authorities and the families concerned. I've not heard of any, apart from the visit of the vice chairman. Ostensibly, that should be at the behest of the local government chairman himself. But
Hmm.
beyond that, that's comfort, that succor that should have been created around the families.
Hmm.
We've not seen that very obvious, except the families are saying this. We've not seen that. uh So, but then I I think I need to make the point that it is good
Okay.
that from the back end, decisive efforts have been made to resolve this. We know, I'm also very much aware of the challenges, involved, and why it is dragging for this length of time. I appreciate that. I am at
Hmm.
home with that. I am aware. But I think while you're managing the situation from the back end, the public also needs to be managed. The families involved also need to be managed. We cannot run, you know we cannot run governance by keeping quiet. That communication, the conversation around the issue has to go on. The family need to not only think, not only assume, they need to be sure by decisive actions, very apparent actions, that yes, the government cares about us. We are not we are not we are not left on our own. Hello, hello, hello. Are you still hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go on. I can hear you.
Okay, okay. So I think, and from what the young man has said, that at stake now is his father and
Hmm.
the fathers of these other people involved. Tomorrow it could be somebody's mother. Remember, some not too far away, you know, the mother of one of the local government chairman of Bonny was
Hmm.
kidnapped, and then even after ransom was paid, the woman was poisoned to die in his hands. Very
Wow.
traumatic, very distressing, very debilitating situation. And then we also have our brother Minajombo, who was picked from his house, 2 minutes walk from the naval base, and then taken away in the middle of the night. And then imagine all that had to go down for him to come out. Now, this is not a situation we should allow to thrive. And I think maybe that is why that's part of the reason why the drag is there about resolving
Hmm.
this issue. Because
All right.
continuing to pay ransom could
Hmm.
be in a way of encouraging these criminals to
To
continue
continue.
perpetuating this kind of
Hmm.
so we should not compensate criminality at all.
Hmm.
We should not
Oh,
compensate criminality. But
okay.
that
So
is also a call on the government to be on
yeah.
top of his game in terms of security.
All right. Let me quickly give another family member of the victim a call, so that we can also hear from another person what they know and what is happening. So I'm giving her the call now.
Hello, the person you are calling is on another call at the moment. Do hold on.
Okay. Hello. Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me now? You're live.
I can hear you.
Okay. So you're live on the show now. Just to ask you quickly, have you heard, as your family member or anybody heard from the local government or any government official what is really happening and what they are doing to rescue your father?
Not really. We've not heard from them. We've not.
Hmm.
We're still expecting them to do something. It's almost 1 month and now nothing has been done.
So for the past 1 month, you've not heard from any government official reaching out to you or your family member.
Yes, we've not heard anything. We've not heard anything. We are calling. We've been calling, pleading for people to assist.
Hmm. Okay, so we are also hearing there's a ransom of 10 million naira they are requesting for. Is this true?
Yeah, yes, it's true.
Hmm. Okay. All right. We just wanted to clarify that, but just to confirm, who is your father among the victims?
My father is Sonny Hart.
Sonny,
Please,
Sonny
please,
Hart.
I
Okay.
want people to come to our aid. Please, this whole thing is telling on the family. The trauma now gone is really telling on us. We don't know what to do. We have to get such kind of phone. We don't have money.
Hmm. I want to sincerely condole with you and your family. I know it's a very traumatic time for every one of you. We have you in our prayers, and that is why we are having this conversation for the world to help us push for a solution. So I'm really sorry. We hope that very soon we'll have a result to be rejoicing with. And that's why we're having this conversation. And thank you so much for speaking to us. Just to clarify what has been happening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm. So, Mr. Goswe, that's another family member saying they've not heard anything from the government since 1 month, and they don't know what is happening, but they are begging and soliciting that the public comes to their aid. Again, it goes back to our earlier point of saying communication is key in a time like this, and government needs to be responsible and responsive to victims. At least, even if it's a phone call, just to be able to show that we sympathize with you truly, and we are assuring you that a lasting solution will come. You don't have to necessarily tell them the sensitive thing the government is doing to get back. I heard the CP of the PRO of police in Port Harcourt in that radio interview saying that the police is on top of the matter, and they are doing their best to get the victims back. But again, the whole communication around this is my major concern, and I don't want to imagine if I had a family member, God forbid, in this kind of situation, it would be very, very devastating. And this is my really, really, really major concern. But I want to thank you for some of the comments you've made and the extensive report Christiana Report is doing to give the public heads up on what is happening. Reason why I knew that you were the only person I could have on the show to tell us really what is happening on the background. So, but the House of Assembly member had proposed a security summit, and from my findings, I'm privy to an information that he has written to the River State Governor seeking approval to host that security summit in Bonny, just to be able to discuss holistically how to handle security challenges like this. What do you make of it? Is it a right step in the right direction?
I think if I would say something about that, I think it's long overdue. Actually, it's long overdue, and for me, I will commend him for looking in that direction, for coming up with that idea, that initiative. The issues of security keep expanding. Look at it from whatever perspective. This is one community that almost all the oil and gas companies are represented. A community hosting the Nigeria LNG, Shell, Mobil, Chevron, which one will you call? Belema Oil, all of them. They're all here. And then in a year, in one financial year, the country is generating about 1 trillion naira. This same community is host to every aspect of the Nigerian security architecture, except the Air Force. The Navy is here, the Army is here, the Civil Defense is here, the police even has 2 divisions on the island. The DSS is here, and you can name it. Nimasa is here. Everybody is here. So in the middle of this, people are being picked from their homes. People are being picked from inside the village. You know, kidnappers can go into creeks, into a village, and pick people from that place and walk away. This is not a situation we should be dealing with. So from whichever perspective you look at it, the conversation on security is long overdue to hold.
Overdue.
So that
Yes.
The Honorable Abinye Pepo could come up with this idea, with this initiative, is a commendable one. And I think that whatever is our perspective, whatever divide we belong to, we should drop that and connect to this. We should come together to talk about security. Looking at it, should these kind of incidents we have continue to happen? Should it even happen in the first place? That is the first question. Should it even happen in the first place? Secondly, the factors that give life to this kind of challenges, are they being properly addressed? Some of these young men who were constituting themselves into a challenge for the security of Bonny local government were brought together. They made a commitment to drop their arms. They made a commitment to work with the relevant authorities, with the stakeholders, to assure security on the island. They even went a notch further to take an oath, as to seal their commitment. Now, the give back on this, has that happened? Because it was a two-way thing. You drop your arms, you commit to making sure that there is peace in the land. And then we are going to do this for you. We are going to do that for you. Has those things that were promised them been done? And then, how the other one, another question we need to ask, these situations, are they alien to these young men? How about homegrown solution to the security of Bonny? How about that?
Looking
Because
internally.
yes, when you bring security operatives from different parts of the country, the head of the JTF in Bonny is from the southwest. The head of the Navy is from the north. The head of the civil defense is from the middle belt. The head of the police is from the middle belt. The head of the police in Finima is from the north. Now, these people, we can agree that they are not abreast with our terrain. But there are people who know this terrain very well that should be able to help them and say, sir, Navy, sir, Army, sir, police, if you go to so place at this material time, you will see this person there. If you talk to this person, this situation will not happen. Are they being inculcated into that system, into that arrangement? Because you cannot be working in the blind. You cannot be working in the dark. You cannot blindfold yourself and you say you are trying to secure Bonny. We have to take that into account. We have to take that into account. We are doing the little we can to see how everybody is abreast of the what is going on. The relevant information are being shared with the relevant stakeholders. But we think that these processes have to be looked at again. And I think that is the purpose that the summit should serve. And I think that is the reason why His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, needs to accede to that request to have that summit,
mm,
because it is high time the conversation happens. Some days ago, he himself, the governor, was telling the management of the Nigeria LNG in his house, in government house, he was telling them that you cannot have security without working with the local communities, without working with the host communities. They are your best assurance, your best guarantee for security. That is very obvious. That is very clear. So if he is saying that, so I think there's enough reason for him to accede to that request. By the way, who is making the request? The representative of the Bonny people in the government, in the
mm.
parliament of Rivers State. So he is best suited to make that request. He is best suited to drive that process, and that he has taken the gauntlet, and that he has mustered the political will and the courage to be able to make that request, and even put, put into operation the processes of having this summit, having all the stakeholders come together to discuss this. We need to
Mm,
commend him for that. We need to commend him for
mm.
that. And I think there should be a broad-based buy-in by everybody. Everybody is
Okay.
affected. The companies cannot say, oh, they are, on the other
They are
side of
left out because they
Bonny.
are affected also.
Yes, they are affected. If these boys can come with a boat and pick Mina people, if they can drive into a Creek community and pick these people and drive away, everywhere is surrounded. The back of Arwe is a river. The back of Finima is a river. And there's even a river, that brings you straight to the airstrip. So these boys can come down anywhere and pick anybody. And their informants are within the community, giving them information. So this conversation is long overdue. We need to have that summit. Let us come together and discuss how we are going to secure Bonny, especially in lieu of the over $4 billion project that is about to take off, the 27 project. If this can
Yes.
happen in this time when nothing is happening, when we are expecting, at a time when we are expecting that over 1,000 companies will be on ground in Bonny, over 50,000 people will be on ground in Bonny, and a lot
Mm.
of money in circulation, a lot of business opportunities in circulation. Imagine what will happen.
And the Bonny Budo road coming, there will be
Yes.
spike in security issues, and if we
Uh-huh.
cannot
So,
handle things the way it is now, I wonder what we are going to be handling when that time comes. But I really must thank you for that view, and I look forward to that security summit, because I had to do my due diligence and findings, and I was very glad to hear that motion, that security summit is already in motion, and a letter has been submitted to the governor to approve that summit happens in Bonny. Like you have said, it is important we have that summit, put put stakeholders together and discuss what the future of our security will look like and what we need to do, because we can't continue to have issues like this. And just for anybody that is just joining, we are also aware that the House of Assembly member and the local government chairman, they have briefed the governor in details what is happening in Bonny, and also His Majesty the King what is happening in Bonny as at that time. And I'm aware that frequent updates are given to the governor and then His Majesty. And so for me, for one, I'm wondering why on earth is the silence of the River State government in particular? That is my own major concern. If you want to call into the show, you can call in and give your comment or ask your questions. The number to call just before we round up is 081 120 90862. You can call in, call me right now, and give your comments and your opinions if you wish to, before we round up on the show. So, Mr. Gosway, what should we look forward to in the next coming weeks, and how do we go about giving more pressure to government to speak up? Because personally, I've tried to reach the local government chairman himself. It has been very difficult, just also to get his own view and his own comments on what is happening. But that's been very difficult reaching him. But what should we expect in coming weeks, and what should the public start doing next? because something needs to be done.
Okay, well, part of what talking about what needs to be done. Part of what needs to be done has happened today. The youth of Bonny were on the streets earlier today to make
Mm.
a demand of
Very
the authorities.
commendable. Very commendable. I saw that.
That
Yes.
so I think we are in the right direction. I think that is a step in the right direction because we cannot continue
Mm.
talking. We have to take action, and it is commendable that these young men and women were able to muster the courage in spite of all the shootings they saw online yesterday happening in Lagos. They still took the risk to
Mm.
come out to make this demand of the authorities that something has to be done to bring back these our fathers. We need to commend that. We also must commend the chief counsel. As much as I stand with my opinion that the letter they made public was unnecessary,
That was
I also
needless.
think it was
Yeah.
it was commendable of them that they spoke out so that history will bear them out, you know, in the future. That when this kind of situation arose, they did not keep mute. We must commend them for that. We may we may disagree with them on the mode of speaking out, but we cannot, discredit
Mm.
them on the point of saying that yes, we are aware of what has happened. We are concerned about what
Mm.
the situation is. We are worried about the families. We comfort the families. We console with them, and we share in their pain. We must commend them for that. We but we think beyond this point, they also need to make a stronger statement. The chief counsel has to make a stronger
Mm.
statement. Almost all the I don't know of any the head of any of the security agencies in Bonny that is older than the members of the chief council. I think they should be also able to engage them as their sons, to be able to plead with them and make a case with them that please you need to take action. The idea of one security
Mm.
agency say it is not my duty, it is the duty of the other security agencies. I think at this point we may need to collapse that because, like they say, desperate situations demand desperate measures. At this point now, the blame
Mm.
the blame game, the abdication of roles needs to be collapsed. Everybody needs to come together. I can't imagine a joint operation of the army, of the navy, of the police, of the civil defense, invading every hideout
Mm.
of all the criminals, disturbing the Bonny terrain, up to the boundary with the Andoni local government. I can't imagine such an operation, not scaring away these guys. I can't imagine that. Remember when 4 journalists were kidnapped in Nigeria and every day it was in the news? Remember,
Mm.
all police operations across the country were shut down. Everybody was deployed to the southeast until those guys were rescued. In fact, remember too that their kidnappers had to abandon them and run away. So we think that at this point now, going forward, the security agencies in Bonny need to take a review of their stands. They should not leave everything just to the police. Obviously, the police is overwhelmed. Obviously, the police is overwhelmed. The Marine
Mm.
police has just one gunboat,
Overwhelmed.
and then this other one that the chairman bought for them. How fast can those boats run? What is their fire? What is the firepower of those gunboats? So we cannot leave it for just the police.
Mm.
The army need to come in. The navy need to come in. Going forward, the chief counsel has to make a case with these security agencies and plead with them to take action. And then the youths should not come out on the streets just one day and go home and rest. In Nigeria, nothing works following the normal process, the due process. Nothing works that way.
Mm.
The Nigerian
We can even see
authorities
that from the
like it.
inside.
Yes, Nigerian leaders want you to shut down the system in order to get their attention. If you're not ready to take that step, they won't listen to you, they won't pay attention. But when the system is shut down, that's when they will say, okay, what is it you are saying? Like we have seen in the past days, upon all the complaints that were trending about the activities of the notorious, dubious, and disturbing SARS. You know, the National Assembly did not sit on it. No action was taken in that direction. But thank God that Nigerian youths saw through it and were able to come out to the street and say, no, we have to take this situation in our hands. And by the grace of God, they forced the authorities to scrap that unit. They may deploy the operatives there, no problem. We are following up. We are following up. But coming to Bonny, we cannot take one action and say that's enough. We have to follow up. Just like politicians tell the youth that they have to defend their votes, you have to defend your community. You have to take action. You have to put the authorities on their toes for them to act. And then all other relevant stakeholders. I commend the local government chairman. I mean, he's been very forthright and forthcoming about, putting me in the know of the efforts he's making in this direction. I commend him for that. We cannot say all of
Yeah,
that in the public. They are too
yeah.
sensitive.
He
But
also did.
he
He also
is
did that.
working.
Put me in the know the last time I was in Bonny.
Yes. So I commend him for being, up and coming about this. He's not rested. In fact, the last time we saw, he has lost a lot of weight, about this issue. If you see him now, you won't believe what he has had to go through. Recovering from the shock of escaping that attack and then having to deal with his people that have been kidnapped. It has not been an easy one for him. We must commend him. Why we are not comfortable that he's not talking to the people, we cannot also rule out the other aspect that he's doing his best, he's doing what it is within his purview to be able to address this. He's not resting about it. He may not say what he's doing in public, but he's not resting about it. Nobody is resting, not the king, not the amenable himself, not the governor, not the chairman. The only fault line, the only missing link is the communication aspect. But as per decisive actions on this, actions are going on. And we are expecting that maybe
Okay.
before this week runs out, we may have our fathers back. But it
Okay.
will still depend on our prayers. We need to pray that God will provide all the resources, mental, spiritual, financial, and all other resources the government needs to be able to bring a closure to this situation.
Okay. 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 All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Goswill. I mean, you've been of tremendous help to look into some of these issues. And like you said, we are praying that by the end of this week, we'll have our fathers back. We're just praying to God that it doesn't extend more than this week because it's been more than a month. And we are praying that all their efforts will come true. We are only pleading with the local government that they should please communicate, carry the people along. You mustn't share sensitive information before you communicate so that we know that something is being done, so that the public knows. Me and you, we may know because of our privilege close to people in government, but the public don't know. It's the reason why they need to communicate to the public. Mr. Goswill, thank you so much for your help on the show. I hope I talk to you again soon on some other issues.
Of course, we are always on standby. We are here to serve the people of Bonny, the people of Rivers State, and the people of Nigeria. At least silver and gold we have none,
Mm,
but information we have. So, and we will always make
yes,
it available
yes.
whenever we are called upon. If I will borrow the cliche from
Eh,
Okolome Pangi, when Bonny calls, we will answer.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Okay.
All right. Thank you everybody for hanging on. I mean, that has been a very robust conversation. I had to bring Mr. Goswell into it. He is from Christiana Report, and they have been on the background working on a lot of investigations and investigative reports on what is happening in bringing back our fathers, the Banigo Five that were kidnapped from Banigo Village over 1 month ago. I am devastated entirely by this news after 1 month, and I just cannot imagine what the family is going through. I've been trying to reach local government chairman. I will keep trying just to hear from him what is happening. Possibly, if he can come on my show, I'll be very happy to do that. If he can speak to us from the phone, I'll be very happy to do that. But the essence of today's conversation is to bring to the public what is really happening on the background. We have heard that there's likelihood that there's 5 to 7 persons that were kidnapped, not just five. We had four before, but there's likelihood that the number is up to seven. And that is very heartbreaking, with something we should be hearing from the government itself. Also, going further, where we are hearing that there are some ransom demands that have been made. We don't know what is happening to meet up those ransoms, and nobody in the government is saying anything. Again, that's another issue. But we are aware that the River State government has been briefed. The governor himself has been briefed entirely on what's happening in Bonny. His Majesty the King has also been briefed by our House of Assembly member, Honorable Being Blessed in Purple, and the local government chairman himself. And they're in close communication with the governor and His Majesty. But what we try to buttress again on the show was why the River State government has been silent. Is Bonny not a local government that is important to River State? Why is the River State government being silent? No single statement from the government to even say, "Oh, we know what is happening and we are working on it," and just a way to keep calm on what is happening. We have not heard any word from the River State government. But just to go further on what has been done, I'm also privileged to know that the promise made by the House of Assembly member for a security summit in Bonny has now advanced to the next level, as he has written officially to the governor to seek his permission to have that security or his approval to have that security summit in Bonny, and to bring in stakeholders into a room, and let's talk about what should we be doing for security in Bonny, and how do we keep Bonny safe? So that conversation is also ongoing, and we also try to explain the communication level between His Majesty, who is the Amanabo in council, and his chiefs. Is there a lacuna in communication between the Amanabo and the chiefs? We don't know that for sure, but the letter the chiefs wrote, chiefs in council wrote the other day, is telling a different story entirely. And but we hope that in coming days we'll hear more and we'll do more. I'm happy to have as many conversations as possible on the show. Once again, to the victims, family members of the victims that spoke to us on the show today, thank you so much for speaking up and for having that courage to speak up and say your own bit. We sympathize with you, and we are hoping by God's grace your fathers will be back in one accord. That's my prayer, and they'll be back safely and sound. Nothing is going to happen to them. There will be no harm against them. And please hold on. Let God let God Almighty be your strength, and we hope that very soon a lasting result will come. The security concerns in Bonny continues. But in coming days, I'll be working out a modality to begin to engage stakeholders within the community on how we can have a better security for Bonny Kingdom. Until then, I'll be back again later this week on more conversations on BYF and other programs. Thank you so much for hanging in with me. My name is Wisdom Chapp-Jumbo. This is the Hangout series. Thank you for all that has been watching. Kinskin Jumbo, Armstrong Allison, and everybody has been commenting in the comment section. We had over 40 shares of this video, and we have a lot of people that listened to this video, to this conversation today. Thank you so much for all the effort. Follow the page and be next to know when we go live on the conversation. Until then, my name is Wisdom, and I will see you later.